Public health investigators still can't get into Colorado's only immigration detention facility to find out if tuberculosis is spreading.
And I think there is going to be litigation on this issue if there's not compliance.
Governor Polis drops his fight to turn over information to immigration agents. An in-depth look at Republican gubernatorial candidate Victor Marx's work performing exorcisms.
Crushing demons is one of the greatest things I do for people.
And a reminder of the danger in some of Colorado's most beautiful places.
Your goal is to get from a dangerous outside situation to a safe inside situation.
You're indoors. It's all good. It's time for Next. Tuberculosis pops up and public health workers clamp down because it spreads through the air and it can kill. But a month after a TB case at the ICE detention center in Aurora, public health investigators are still being locked out by immigration agents. Our Mark Salinger looks at how they're largely powerless to investigate the health threat.
In a story with few facts.
People were exposed, and so we don't know how many people.
Last night's Aurora City Council study session made it clear that not even the people who run the city know what's happening inside the GO ICE detention facility.
The public health department has not been able to go in and identify contacts, infections, other issues.
ICE maintains there's only been one confirmed case of tuberculosis, and that person was treated and deported. But rumors are spreading, even at public city council meetings.
Last I heard there were 12 cases, so it does appear that from that first case that it has not surprisingly spread.
That has not been proven, and public health officials have not determined the scope of any potential spread. Allison Coombs is mayor pro tem in Aurora. She says the immigration facility violated city code.
GO did not inform the city of Aurora, which was already in our prior ordinances.
Aurora Mayor Mike Kaufman is now predicting legal action against the facility if they don't let public health officials inside.
And I think there is going to be litigation on this issue if there's not compliance, but they really ought to be complying with public health state law.
The city just enacted 2 new ordinances that would require periodic inspections of facilities and mandatory reporting of disease outbreaks. But those laws aren't retroactive. Adams County Public Health still says they do not have the information or access to complete their public health investigation of what's happening inside. We reached out to GEO to ask if they'll comply with Aurora's requests now. They sent us a one-sentence response referring us to ICE, who did not respond to our questions, Kyle.
So, Mark, the whole idea is like 1 case, 12 cases, that's why you send in public health inspectors so they can figure out the extent of the spread.
Exactly. This is all very confusing, right? And everybody's confused. I asked Allison Coombs, the mayor pro tem in Aurora, how'd you get the 12 numbers? She referred me to an article from The Guardian that published that. But again, ICE has not confirmed that, and public health can't confirm that. Aurora today referred to this as a tuberculosis outbreak, but again, admitting that there's only 1 case that's been confirmed.
Mark Salinger, thank you. Democratic Governor Jared Polis is finally abandoning his effort to give ICE information about Coloradans who care for immigrant children. A whistleblower sued to stop the governor from doing it. Now Polis says he'll let the next governor decide. ICE has been trying to get the state to identify a few dozen people who are sponsors of unaccompanied immigrant children. ICE said it wanted to make sure the kids are safe, but their legal order was not signed by a judge. Colorado law blocks state and local governments from sharing personally identifying information with immigration agents unless there's a criminal investigation or a court-ordered subpoena. Polis was going to turn over the details anyway until a state employee sued to stop him. The governor's office spent about $200,000 in taxpayer money trying to win the right to give ICE the info before Polis eventually punted the case to next year and the next administration. Greg Lopez has made the ballot for governor again. He ran twice as a Republican. He will be an unaffiliated candidate this time. It complicates the already long-shot chances for Republican nominee Victor Marx to beat the Democratic frontrunner Phil Weiser. Lopez left the Republican Party after 2 failed attempts to secure its nomination for governor. During his last run for governor, Lopez suggested doing away with the principle of one person, one vote. He proposed a system that would heavily skew toward rural counties and turn landslide Republican losses into runaway GOP wins in Colorado. Lopez has also called for an end to mail-in voting, which he uses himself, and he said that cutting education funding would force teachers to be more creative. Victor Marx, the Republican nominee for governor and a ministry leader from Colorado Springs, says his life's work ridding people of demons is not exorcism, just prayer. In researching Marx's history before his sudden entry into politics, we reviewed more than 100 hours of his speeches, sermons, interviews, and podcasts. In a moment here, we will bring you that story. We're having a technical issue. We'll return to that in just a bit. Let's turn to meteorologist Chris Bianchi for a look now at a serious rain situation that is impacting some burn scars throughout Colorado.
Exactly right, Kyle. A flash flood emergency for the Aspen Acres burn scar in southern Colorado. 1 to 3 inches of rain falling within the last 3 hours. That is of significant concern. And if you hear the term flash flood warning versus flash flood emergency, what we've got here for the Aspen Acres burn scar, that is the highest level, highest caliber of flash flood warning. So that is, again, is above a flash flood warning. So if you're anywhere near the Aspen Acres burn scar, you need to be seeking higher ground right now. Avoid this area. And here's the reason why. When we're talking about a burn scar, it's like taking a bucket of water and pouring it onto a tile floor. Because of a burn scar, there's no vegetation, obviously, and so there's nothing to absorb that water. And notice that blue dot there, that is right over the Aspen Acres burn scar. An estimated 1 to as much as 3 inches of rain has fallen in a very short period of time. There are already reports of some water rescues ongoing near San Isabel. So again, please avoid that area. Otherwise, further north and east, we do have some showers and storms across the eastern plains. These have packed quite the punch. Severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Yuma County. That goes for the next half hour. And there's those flash flood warnings in southern Colorado as well. Futurecast, we're going to keep those shower storms over the eastern plains primarily, but if you're heading to the AC/DC concert or anything like that in the Denver metro area tonight, any outdoor activities, bring the rain jacket with you. We're not done with those rain chances in town yet. Still could get a storm or two this evening with some of these outflow boundaries that trigger some more storms. Tomorrow, more storms likely, including the Denver metro area, before we gradually dry things out and warm things up for the rest of the week. And then exactly what you probably did not want to hear. It's going to be back right near 100 again on Sunday.
Chris Bianchi, thank you very much. Apologize for the technical issues. We'll be back in a moment with Republican gubernatorial candidate Victor Marx's history of exorcisms. Victor Marx says he's not an exorcist. He just prays away the demons that attach to people using a specialized prayer that he markets through his ministry. This isn't some side project. It is at the center of his multi-million-dollar operation, despite criticism it's drawn from other Christian leaders. With Marx jumping into politics and running for Colorado governor as a relative unknown, we combed through more than 100 hours of the Republican nominee's speeches, sermons, interviews, and podcasts from the last 15 years. Those exorcisms are front and center.
Men and women who stood their ground and fought to protect the next generation.
Victor Marx is battling demons as he runs for governor.
A man that understands war on the earth and war in the heavens.
Spiritual warfare is central to the Republican nominee's campaign to lead Colorado. Battling demons is at the center of Victor Marx's $7.5 million a year ministry.
When I said demon, and on the authority of Jesus Christ, you come forth, and instantly, boom, black eyes.
In the name of Jesus, I command you to tell me your name.
And then this demon goes, I am Satan.
Marx says one of the greatest things he does is talk with evil spirits.
I've had demons speak to me through people.
And command those demons to leave people through a specialized prayer that he markets through his website, films, training courses, and paid public speaking engagements.
The retoning prayer, I have a film called The Unseen War, which I recommend everybody watch.
It sold for $19.95 on his website, and its marketing is all wrapped up in Marx's exorcism prayer.
The retoning prayer, God has given me a gift to be able to find out if you have specific demons or a demon that studies and stalks you. And if you do, I make him talk, and then we destroy him. It's fast, too, 5-10 minutes.
Marx's ministry also marketed an 8-part course on spiritual warfare, warning about gay people and Ouija boards.
People will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceiving spirits.
Marx pitches his demon-slaying prayer, the quote-unquote secret sauce of his ministry, as effective against everything from a lack of self-confidence to adultery, homosexuality, even murder. A mix of self-help and supernatural warfare.
This is how I explain it to women. I go, ladies, you get out of the shower, you're getting ready. You're looking in the mirror, you know, it's just you. Do you ever hear these thoughts? You're ugly, you're disgusting, you will never. That's how you start to go, my gosh, maybe that is demonic. And it is. But there's a way to battle, have victory, and I've seen it. I've seen it from addictions to homosexual lifestyle to cheating to murder, the whole 9 yards. People get set free from it all.
Marx's ministry tracks the annual numbers, using them to drive donations and product purchases.
It's an interrogation by a commanded authority.
Marx says his exorcisms work over the phone, and he's performed them on podcasts.
God, I ask for a seamless canopy of blood to surround their studio right now. God, I pray that you would demolish any and all communication between any demonic forces that are on the outside of that bubble and those that are in now that are specifically assigned to Stacy.
Minutes later, Marx pronounced Stacy freed of 11 demons, and she was pitching Marx's products.
Okay, so Victor, let's walk through real fast how somebody can get your course. So they go to victormarx.com. When they get there, there's training courses, and from there you can find the Unseen War there. And there's 8 different sessions. And right now, Flyover family, there is no excuse. They have it for $99 or whatever you can afford.
Marx's Republican primary opponents called him a con man, a grifter, and a fraud. Marx has acknowledged that other Christian leaders have called his work an unbiblical ritual, and that his non-traditional means of prayer has cost him speaking gigs at churches and conferences.
You know, some of the biggest pushback I get are from actual pastors.
Marx is not an ordained pastor himself. He's a ministry leader with an online store and speaking tours.
We're fighting demonic warfare. We have a 8-part docuseries coming out on spiritual warfare.
Marx says he never charges for the prayer itself, only the films, courses, and other materials. And he doesn't like it when journalists refer to his demon hunting as exorcism.
They're aggravated. I pray for people. They call it an exorcism. I'm like, we call it prayer.
Right.
But they're twisting and attacking who I am.
Marx told me he continued to hunt demons if elected governor.
Yeah, that's...
So commanding demons to leave people alone is not an exorcism?
No. Oh, no. No. I mean, I think exorcisms are more performed by Catholic priests. What I'm doing is just praying for people who have been oppressed by evil. And the results are astonishing.
Do you understand why so many of your critics think you're a con man?
No.
Some prefer the word grifter.
I had to look it up.
Sure.
No.
When you looked it up, didn't seem like you?
Not at all.
The origin of Victor Marx's demon deliverance ministry appears to have been about 20 years ago, when he says he was doing a Bible study at a youth correctional facility in Texas, when he directed the prison guards to place him alone in a cell with a 15-year-old girl who he said was in the grips of the devil. Should mention is not the last time that Marx says he performed this ritual on a child. Marx's campaign did not respond to our specific questions about that encounter with the 15-year-old girl. I should also say, when I visited Marx's training compound earlier this year, his team offered to perform the demon hunting prayer on me. I declined. Enjoy the great outdoors in Colorado, but stay alert. Beauty can turn to danger on a dime. Outdoor experts share what to watch for. And a reminder, you can watch this program nightly, streaming 6 p.m. wherever you watch 9 News, and next is a podcast, wherever you find those. Coloradans who rely on individual marketplace insurance can expect monthly premiums to go up in 2027. State regulators are blaming the expiration of some federal tax credits. Colorado's Division of Insurance is predicting the individual marketplace premiums will increase by an average of 11% next year. That mostly impacts people who don't get their insurance through work. The Division of Insurance is basing that prediction of rate increases based on requests that they've received from the insurance companies, not final approved rates. The state says the increase here is still smaller than the nationwide rate hike average. Colorado's insurance commissioner says the increase can be partially attributed to Congress's decision not to renew enhanced premium tax credits, which have been in place since 2021. Colorado Day is Saturday, the state's 150th birthday, and part of the celebration are groups hiking nearly every 14er in the state. They will certainly be mindful of the weather risks following the death of Levi Strobel, the teenager killed by a lightning strike on Mount Blue Sky last weekend. Our Marshall Zellinger explains the precautions these hikers will be teaching.
On a cloudy afternoon, the relief from the heat is welcome. The sight of raindrops is also refreshing, just not when it happens when this is your view.
Most mountaineers have been in some type of predicament that they didn't expect.
Ashley Hanlon is part of the Colorado Mountain Club, which is a big event this weekend to hike Colorado's 14ers.
Colorado Mountain Club recognizes 58. So I know there's some contention around that, but we recognize 58.
The club will have at least 400 people hiking 55 of the 14ers on Saturday for the 150th Colorado Day. 3 of the 14ers are closed because of recent wildfires. The event will prioritize responsible recreation and education about what can happen while hiking, like animal encounters, what happens if there's a wildfire, and how to realize the weather is changing before it actually does.
All of a sudden, you start to see some not even necessarily gray clouds rolling in, just some funky colored clouds. Little raindrops here and there, not going to be the worst thing in the world, but we definitely are looking for some of those big splattering raindrops, or grapple, which is that kind of mix between hail and snow and kind of falls apart when it hits your skin. Super good indicators that lightning and thunder are to follow.
When that happens while you're outside, Ashley says your goal should be to get to a safe inside situation. If that's not possible, get to a group of trees that are mostly the same height. And if you can't get below tree line, get into the lightning position.
You want your heels together when you're down in the lightning position so that they're tucked together. And the theory here is that if there is a ground current of lightning, the electrical current takes the path of least resistance. So it goes up 1 foot and down the other, and only your feet are impacted.
If you ever find yourself needing to use the lightning position, it's also good to put a backpack or poncho or something else you have on you under your feet to separate yourself from the ground.
Marshall, isn't part of this right that they're trying to get people to change their mindsets that like you may be close to summiting, like close to reaching your goal, and you just have to scrap it if the weather turns?
Any of those scenarios, those funky looking clouds, the rain starts coming, turn around. Like it doesn't matter if you're like 1,000 feet or 5,000 feet still from summiting, turn around.
All right, Marshall Zellinger, thank you. We're back with your feedback next. Bunch of feedback along the same lines tonight about the technical difficulties that we had earlier at one specific moment in the program. Charles on X, formerly Twitter, writes, technical difficulties trying to cover Victor Marx's exorcisms? Coincidence? Charles says, I don't think so. Scott and Arvada emailed on the same, did demons get to your segment on Victor Marx? Perhaps briefly, but we did have it right after the break. As Shirley emailed in to say, evidently the technology demons in the exorcism story needed to be dealt with. Demons, gremlins, there was something going on with that story. This from Mark, who emails in to say, when will you do an in-depth expose on the last 15 years of Phil Weiser? Well, Mark, I'll start off by saying that I think one of the most flaccid logical arguments known to mankind is whataboutism, right? When somebody says something about a politician you like, and your response is, well, what about the other guy, right? Because we know that that's just a distraction technique. But to your question, when will we do an expose on the last 15 years of Phil Weiser? We've covered his work as Attorney General intensively for the last 8 years and his campaign before that. If you think we've missed a story about Phil Weiser, you know how to get in touch. See you next time.